The federal government on Monday decried the nationwide non-compliance with the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 guidelines for gradual reopening of the economy. The Director General of the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, Dr. Łøçķďøwň, who stated this during the task force press briefing in Abuja, warned that the President, Major General Muhammadu Buhari retired, could restore the lockdown if the guidelines were not observed and there was a surge in coronavirus cases. The President had on March 30th, imposed a 2-week lockdown on the Federal Capital Territory, Lagos, Ogun State, but at the expiration of the first lockdown on April 13th, he extended it by another 14 days. In his broadcast to the nation on April 27th, Buhari said phased and gradual easing of the lockdown would begin on May 4th. He also imposed a dusk to dawn curfew in the nation. Besides banning interstate movement, the president imposed a total lockdown on Kano State, which had witnessed a spike in COVID-19 cases. Guidelines on gradual reopening of the economy issued by the PTF a few days after the presidential address mandates anyone in public spaces to use non-medical face masks. They also prohibit interstate travels apart from for essential services. The guidelines ban gathering for more than 20 people outside of a workplace. Commercial vehicles are only allowed to operate outside the curfew hours and should practice social distancing in the number of their passengers. But our correspondent, who monitored activities in the FCT, Lagos and Ogun State on Monday, observed that people did not observe the PTF guidelines, including social distancing. Although banks limited the number of people that entered their premises, customers ignored social distancing as they crowded at bank gates. Pedestrians and motorists from Ogun State crossed over to Lagos in violation of the ban of interstate movements. The NCDC boss at the PTF's press briefing on Monday reviewed compliance with the guidelines across the country and concluded that it was not satisfactory. He said the president could restore the lockdown if the task force guidelines were not covered or observed. Łøçķďøwň stated, "Today Monday, some of the measures have been eased. Initially, reports are not too pleasing across the country. Now that we have seen the sunlight again, the challenge for us as a society is how do we organize ourselves to mitigate these risks and limit transmissions from each other. Though we might have a few extra infections today and tomorrow, but what we don't want is an explosion of new infections. If we do have the explosion, there will be almost no choice left for the leadership of the country but to ask all of us to go back to our homes." Łøçķďøwň noted that banks were among business groups that were allowed to open on Monday. He, however, lamented that many banks limited the numbers of their branches that opened, adding that there will be a spike in infections due to the way people mingled. The NCDC boss said, what we say, take responsibility this time. When we say take responsibility this time, yes, we are addressing individuals, but we really need to address corporate Nigeria. There is benefit of the doubt, but when you limit the number of branches opened, everyone goes to the one branch that is open, and that becomes counterproductive. Today, we might forgive a little bit because it was the first day. We will have infections because of what happened today. No doubt about that. Everybody here on the PTF knew today would be a problem because for the first time, people were let out of their homes. We can produce all the guidelines in the world. We can preach and do press conferences, but how can we learn from the mistakes of today, tomorrow, and the day after, so that by Friday, hopefully, we have normalized some of these things? He stated that organizations must support the implementation of the preventive measures, help manage the risk, and focus on a risk-based approach. Why markets are open, places of worship shut, PTF says. Łøçķďøwň, while fielding questions from journalists, noted that the decision to open markets and close places of worship was because food is an essential issue. He added, "We are not even saying we are happy with the markets across the country, but we are really still appealing to everyone in those markets to help us make it, as in curb transmission, work. We know that many of our markets were not built for an era of COVID-19. We are sure about that. Our markets are historically very congested places with many ports of entry, very difficult to control access. In fact, a perfect place for transmission. So by no means we are saying the marketplace are the examples of perfect locations for managing transmission. We have to allow market to continue because people have to eat." Speaking on the efforts of the PTS in Kano State, Ihekwazu said experts deployed by the federal government were working to guide the Ministry of Health in the state. According to him, the NCDC team and the Kano State officials are working to improve the laboratories in the state. He said the spread of testing in Kano is a little bit slower than you would expect, but that is the price we have to pay in order to get this up and running. I'm confident that we will leave that lab better. The NCDC boss also said the task force supported the delivery of a new lab funded by the Aliko Dangote Foundation, delivered by a Nigerian company, 54 Gene. The PTF chairman and secretary to the government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, in his remarks, said there had been very noticeable relocation of almajiris from one state to another. Mustafa said with the ban on interstate movement, the continuation of this existence will not be in alignment with the guidelines issued. The PTF shall engage with state governments on how to achieve their objectives. The Minister of Health, Dr. Sage Haniri, in his address, urged all healthcare facilities to reject persons seeking medical help, especially in emergencies. He said it was unethical not to attend to persons in distress. I also urge citizens to go to hospitals when not feeling well and to cooperate by giving accurate information, especially with regard to travel history, he said. Elanure noted that the country had informed the World Health Organization that it would keep part in trials of medicines to tackle the COVID-19 pandemic. According to him, efforts are ongoing to also conduct research in Nigeria. He said other drugs can be added based on emerging evidence. We shall ensure the maintenance of ethical standards and safety of our people. The national coordinator of the PTF, Dr. Sani Aliyu, in his remarks decried non-compliance with the task force protocol, saying the easing of the lockdown was in no way a license to relax self-protection against the infection. He restated that the PTF guideline saying no interstate travel is allowed except for transportation of essential commodities and services. No passenger flights, churches, mosques and schools remain closed. Clubs, bar, parks, sporting and gaming centers will also remain closed. It is absolutely necessary to continue to maintain those measures that will continue to protect us. We must wear our masks to protect ourselves and one another at all times. We must keep washing our hands. We must maintain the safe physical distance of 2 meters and comply with the easiest lockdown measure. The WHO country representative Fiona Bracker, while feeding questions, stated that research was going on globally for a COVID-19 vaccine. According to Bracker, no fewer than 89 products are undergoing development. He stated research is going on globally to study the genetics of the virus. This helps us to develop a vaccine. Thanks to rapid sharing of genetic data from countries, we are able to advance the production of vaccines. So guys, I just want to quickly say something. It is the same thing that we've been talking about. Everybody must be responsible and take charge of his or her life. Of course, just like they said that a lot of people might want to come out yesterday because they've been on lockdown for close to 6 weeks, even not more than. So it is expected that something of that nature would happen, but people should be conscious. There should be a continuous teaching, continuous education, educating people and letting people to know and to be aware of these things, because it's like people are tend to, people tend to forget so easily because of hunger, because of desperation, because of many things. But people must continue to be taught or be reminded of what they are supposed to do, because some people just believe that, oh, I'm fine, everything is okay, everything is fine, I can go on. I don't think there's anything happening. Just like some people have been saying, oh, it's just a scam, this and that, they just use that to keep us at home. But one thing is that the NCDC boss said, he said, okay, he talked about a market not markets being open, but churches and all of that not being open, but because of the way our markets have been. And there's one man that has always been saying it. I always listen to that man on the radio, saying that we neglected when we're supposed to do a lot of things. How can at this age and time, I'll always, everything we see go back to the government. We see go back to our leaders, because it's just like you have a children and you keep on complaining about the children, and you as a parent, you are not doing your job. You are not up and doing your duty of taking care of the children to be able to guide them. You are the one who has already matured, who knows what is what, which knows right from wrong. You need to continue to educate the children. Children will continue to be like children, behave like children. I'm just using that analogy. So if you fail in your responsibility, you don't do the right thing, and you expect the children to come out good, it's not going to happen. See, the things that we ought to have put in place. That is why this curve of a thing, it might be difficult, might really be difficult to a very large extent. Maybe it will take some time, but the way it is just what you give. You cannot give what you don't have. The product of the society is as a result of the leadership, because the leadership, just like Abakari's case, when the burial was going on, we know how even those people who ought to have known better, we can't say it was whatever, maybe it was out of emotion or what have you, but they know best. They ought not to have even flouted that order of all these social distances and all of that. But that being said, but what I'm trying to say is that as a parent, if you don't put your children in the line, teach them what they need to know. Once they grow up, you are going to suffer it. Exactly what has been happening to our leadership in this country. They know what is obtainable. These are the things. You don't wait until problem comes before you start running skater. Have they been able to put the house in order? No, they are not going to put the house in order. You can see somebody who calls himself a lawmaker trying to project a vaccination and all of that. Try to be hurry about it. But when you talk about the welfare of the people, you talk about market. Are we not supposed to have had a structure, place of buying things, or at least just market? Hospitals, nothing. Education, nothing. Infrastructure, nothing. Social amenities, nothing. And you expect things to just work like magic when you don't train your children very well. That is the result you will get. The same way, you have not been able to take care of those people. You have not been able to make a structure, have a standard structure so that things will go on fine. And that is what we are paying for now. So it's just unfortunate, but unfortunate that things are going the way they are going. But what we still need to encourage people is to be responsible for your life, because it is you that you know your life, no matter how you feel. Those who are dead will not be talking of hunger, will not be talking of a struggling, hustling here and there. You need to stay alive for others, for yourself as well. It's not because of the government, but because of yourself. So, guys, I wouldn't want to dwell much on this, but what they are trying to say is that if this continues, if people continue to flat this order, they might be locked down again. They might be locked down again. But the question is that the lockdown, how effective is it going to be? Because we know that it is not going to be locked down. There are other things that might go with it, which everybody have experienced in this past 6 weeks. This year of palliative, and some people might not want to live on palliative. Even the palliative, how is it going to go around? No structure in place. So we need to be responsible, and we take absolute care of ourselves. That is just my opinion. So guys, let's have your own take. Leave your comment below and let's learn from you.